Hey everybody, it is November 12th, 2025 here with your after hours recap. So let's just start with the good. XLV continues to lead. We've talked about this one now for multiple days. Congratulations to the few of you guys in the room who do have XLV position or, one of the leveraged ETFs relating to the XLV, or if you have any particular names that are correlated to the XLV. Obviously, Lilly has been an absolute standout. My guess is, $1 trillion market cap is coming for this name in quick order. Really, really nice move as of late for Lilly. You've also had TMO, a little bit of a slower one, but starting to move well. United Healthcare was one that bounced really, really well today off of that gap fill level, effectively right off of the prior breakout. Come right back in, start to bounce nicely. And then you also had ABBV is one that comes to mind. Just a beautiful bounce over the last 2 days. Looks a whole lot like the price action in the XLV the past few days. Financial stocks, I thought they performed really, really well. Obviously, JP Morgan, new all-time closing high. Bank of New York Mellon, BK, really, really nice. New all-time closing high. Goldman Sachs leading the way for the Dow Jones. Absolutely beautiful day, closing right at the highs. And meanwhile, gold, silver, let's just take a peek at some of these. GLD, absolutely beautiful day today. Silver, even more impressive today, effectively closing right at these highs from middle of October. Do we probably get a little bit of a pause here? I think that, that might be likely. Or I don't know, maybe we just rip through that level, in which case I do have some NEM, but I have settled into, I did trim some more today. So I do have just under half my original position that I bought in the 82s. Really, really nice push over the past 4 days, and not much else that I have to do with NEM. Just kind of settle into the trade and let it work for me, see how much higher this thing wants to go. Metals today, just absolutely awesome. Kinross was fantastic. I had AEM on the watch list last night as potentially buyable today over yesterday's highs. Really nice move there. And really, between banks, healthcare, and metals, those were kind of the themes that had been working as of late, the last few days. And those are the themes, that continued to work. Meanwhile, and I don't suggest anybody do this, stop looking at the stocks that are going down. There's absolutely no need to try and find a low in CoreWeave. This does not look good. NBIS after earnings, this does not look too good. The recent names that went awesome a few months ago, like your quantums, those are getting absolutely obliterated, and as they should be. Probably won't be too surprised when Rigetti is back at teens. Nobody should be surprised. IONQ looking like absolute turd, and won't be surprised when this thing's living back underneath the 200 simple moving average. At the very least, and I've said this a few weeks ago, they're not going back to highs this year, and they're kind of proving that with their own price action. And, a name like CIFR, which is a name that I'm also short. I did go ahead and cover off a little piece of CIFR as well today. Last thing I really want to do is be sitting there on, half my shares and then take this thing as a, head ripping rally and a nice little bounce back over the next few days before ultimately, maybe imploding lower. But at this point, I can just kind of settle into my position and let's see if we can get, a nice little pullback into the low teens. I think that might be completely possible. And you're starting to see some pressure as well in HUT. You're seeing some pressure in APLD. All of these stocks, these like pre-revenue, low revenue, diluting machines, or that just went nuts. Rare earths, nuclears, like, SMR is another one that comes to mind. Just acting absolutely god-awful, living below the 200. I mean, I don't put this in any higher category than the quantums or than the rare earths, and this one's also living underneath the 200. My expectation is that it could very well keep going. We could very easily bounce and then roll back over. I have no idea, but like I said, I did take a piece of Rigetti off today on a cover. I did take a piece of CIFR off today on a cover. I did add some Tesla today, expecting and hopefully that it would hold the 50 simple moving average, but it didn't really close the best, and neither did any of like the large caps. I saw this thing bouncing at the 50. I saw it giving my 620 setup, and I was just like, all right. And then it really didn't do much. I will be using the 50 simple moving average as my spot where I'm wrong and I got to exit. And then I will be using 11.7's low, 421 effectively as the spot where I'm going to go ahead and close my position from my shares in September. So that's just kind of where my head's at. And for now, it's just a matter of letting things work that I'm already in. I'm situated in some very nice shorts that are working for me. A little bit of a heartbreaker that I don't have IO and Q. It did squeeze me out on Friday, unfortunately. I had this thing as a short right in here, and then, it faded. I added a little bit more. And then, of course, I ended up going red on a really nice green position, only to then just see this thing, of course, just fade some more, and then fade some more today. Did I expect that? Yes. Did I expect to get squeezed out? Very, very annoying, but it is what it is. IREN's another one that I wish I had from that 74 level. Just absolutely beautiful fade, about 20 points plus off those highs. Super, super nice. And today wasn't too much of an unexpected day. Again, you had gold leading, you had silver leading, you had copper going, you had lithium name ALB going, SQM, which is another lithium name, acting pretty dang well over the last few days. You had AA, which is an aluminum stock, acting pretty well. You had steel acting pretty dang well. So again, you get the picture. If you're a metal, the market loved you. Crude oil got its butt handed to it today, and effectively those stocks that had been in a nice little move kind of took a bit of a pause today. So a 4% down move in crude oil will do that, and XOM, which is a name that I do think has a really, really nice base, ultimately, only down about 1.5%, 1.4% today. So not the absolute worst, but at the same time, a little bit of a pause in the crude oil space. And then everything else, we've been talking about it. The data center theme, Oracle, just looking god-awful. Not something I would go hunting the bottom for. There's nothing tight about this that makes you think that this is a great spot to catch a renewed uptrend. NBIS, as I mentioned already, this is not one that I would just go hunting for the potential low on after earnings. Not saying it's not a great name, but, maybe this can go and fill the gap into the 70s. Who knows? And then, obviously, CoreWeave just getting its butt kicked. Circle, recent IPO, getting absolutely destroyed. So stocks that were like the darlings just a month ago have really come undone. Everything's kind of come unglued in the data center space or in the speculative market. That's kind of come undone. And meanwhile, Google still looks pretty dang good. I thought that this thing is holding up pretty well. And yes, today a down day, but ultimately when you zoom out on it, looks perfectly fine, beautiful uptrend, still really nothing to worry about. Amazon, again, yes, coming down today, but when you zoom out on it, it's above these all-time highs. Really nothing to worry about just yet. Apple continues to look pretty decent despite them selling a stupid little iPhone sock. Still looks pretty dang good in my opinion. And, NVIDIA, another one. Maybe not the best action today, but nothing really wrong with it. You get a nice 2-day bounce, and we talked about this, on video, and we talked about this in the room. A little bit of backing and filling is perfectly healthy as money rotated to other parts of the market. Is XLV in a new and established uptrend? Kind of feels like it. Is gold in a nice continuation setup, and right back in their established uptrend? Kind of feels like it. We just don't know. A lot of those stocks within the XLV or in the gold space, they had setups to buy days ago. I don't know that they have setups at this exact moment for you to kind of chase yourself into these names. And we don't know what's going to happen, with the Palantir going forward or with the cryptos going forward. All we know is that there is some places where money is leaving. And I don't recommend you necessarily look for the bottom on something like Bitcoin, especially if you start to establish yourself below the 200 simple moving average, and then even Ethereum. As much as people go on CNBC, Tom Lee, and tell you that this is going to go to $9,000 to $12,000 this year, as was promised, that's like a 300+% move from here in like the next 7 weeks. Like, does that even seem like that's realistic on any planet ever? No, probably not. So you might as well just get that out of your head. Wait for a much better and clean setup, meaning it has to be in a nice established up move, and then it'll tighten for you, and then there'll be several stocks within the group that are acting well that also appear like they want to go higher, and that's how you start to create yourself a nice edge. Focus on it when it's actually trying to go up, not when it's going down, assuming that you've nailed the absolute bottom. And the same thing could be said for Meta. I was getting asked about this a few days ago on pre-market prep when this was like $640, $650. The move is overdone, the gap down's overdone, and it's a misunderstood earnings and whatever the story might be, but it's below the 200 simple moving average. And I would urge anybody who's ever looked at charts in their entire life, you don't need to own it below the 200 simple moving average to make a ton of money. Let it get back above the 200, let it reestablish itself in an uptrend, let it tighten itself up for you, then you come aboard. Right? It's not that difficult to understand that concept. Otherwise, Meta, for all you know, for all I know, could end up in a situation where it looks like Deckers, right? Where it breaks the 200 simple moving average. It just doesn't stop falling. It just doesn't stop falling. Your entire every single day of your life, you're like looking for the bottom on this thing. And then it starts to go sideways. You're like, oh my God, it's going to get back above the 200. It's going to be an awesome trade. It's going to be an awesome trend. And then ultimately it just falls off some more. And you just end up wasting a year of your life looking for the bottom on a stock that might be bottomless, right? I'm not saying that that is going to happen to Meta, but I'm saying that that can happen to Meta. And instead of you looking for the bottom on a stock that just is seemingly rolling over every single day, a la MSTR, right? When you lose the 200 simple moving average, and it happened over here on 820, then it starts to go sideways and starts to live underneath the 200. It can eventually start to get bad quickly. And there is no need to hunt for the bottom ever on any stock for any reason. No reason at all to ever try and buy the lows and time the lows on any. There has never been in history of the stock market an awesome trend that happened below the 200 simple moving average. The only trend that occurs below the 200 is that it's in a downtrend. Wait till it gets back above the 200, let it establish itself above, and all of stock market's history's biggest moves occur above the 200 simple moving average. I promise you, I'm not making that fact up. It's a fact. All of stock market's history's biggest moves occur above a 200 simple moving average. It's not a very difficult concept to wrap the brain around. Price has to be above the 200-day line. That's what price is doing over the last 200 days. Don't go chasing stocks like Meta. You don't have to be in a CoreWeave. You don't have to be in an NBIS. You don't have to be in an Oracle. When the time comes for them to actually go higher, they will get back above the 200. They'll establish themselves cleanly. There will be peers in its group acting really well, and they will be prepared to go higher after institutions do all the heavy lifting for you. So please just keep that in mind when you're going to buy anything. At least don't look for stocks that are in downtrends like Meta is. Not saying that it can't bottom tomorrow. It very well can, but you don't need to own the bottom tomorrow if this thing is going to go to 800, 900, 1,000, wherever the hell it might be going in the future. You don't have to own it down here to make a ton of money. So just some food for thought, something you guys should always keep in mind. And really, I'll repeat, healthcare, XLV, the metals today, whether it was steel, aluminum, copper, gold, lithium, all acting really great. Healthcare stocks, XLV related. Finance stocks, obviously we talked about these pretty much ad nauseum. I mentioned the tweet yesterday. Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, fantastic action out of the finance stocks. Not a group that I'm going to own because they're just a touch too slow, but they speak on the health of the market. What happens tomorrow, with a Tesla? Does it break the 50-day? What happens with Palantir? Does this thing come down and eventually break the 50-day? Some people could tell me, hey, Ariel, I think Palantir's a late-stage base. I would agree with you. But if it's going to live above the 50 simple moving average, I don't really care what we'll call it, so long as it's living above the 50 simple moving average, it is still bullish. So until it starts to live below, starts to maybe break Friday's lows, below 170, I would suspect that Palantir can start to get a whole heck of a lot more sketchy. But we'll see. And we'll kind of just take it one day at a time. I did, like I mentioned, I trimmed off some Rigetti into this weakness. I felt like I needed to reward myself a little bit and cover a piece. I did go ahead and cover a piece of CIFR. I did add some Tesla today and effectively using this 50 as my line in the sand. And I did sell a small piece of NEM. So hopefully you guys all traded really, really well. Continue to focus on where money's going and ignore the places where money is leaving, unless, of course, you are playing the other side of the market on the short side. So, again, I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. I won't be on in the afternoon making this video. I will be traveling to Florida, and I will be gone through the rest of the weekend. So hopefully you guys all have a super solid day tomorrow while I'm gone, and I look forward to seeing the rest of you guys for pre-market prep or in the room in the morning. Cheers.